Hey everybody. Shortly after I recorded this video about the James Comey indictment and a Fox News lawyer breaking it down, a CNN breaking news bulletin was issued announcing that a federal judge dismissed this indictment wholesale against Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, on the grounds apparently that Trump's interim U.S. attorney, Lindsay Halligan, was improperly appointed. This is a breaking news development. It occurred after I recorded this video, but you should still watch this video because it's a top Fox News lawyer humiliating Trump on live TV. And as far as the case is being dismissed, we'll talk about that in a video a little later when we have more information. In the meantime, check this out. Well, Donald Trump's political prosecution and persecution, I'd argue, of one of his chief political opponents, former FBI Director James Comey, is increasingly falling apart. And that's according to top Fox News lawyer Andy McCarthy, who said as much on Fox News on live TV. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we're going to play this clip of Andy McCarthy speaking to Jackie Heinrich on Fox News about the situation and then dive into a bit deeper in the recent developments because it's looking increasingly likely that this case is going to get tossed out.
I also want to ask you about Comey, this case. On Thursday, federal prosecutors filed a notice correcting the record to say that all jurors reviewed their final revised document, although it doesn't say that Lindsay Halligan herself presented it to the grand jury. But this was after Halligan told a judge that not everyone was privy to the final paperwork displaying his charges. Of course, liberal critics really had a field day with this. Here's The Daily Show.
This is how Legally Blonde would have gone if it was real. It's like, well, I've never tried the case before, but I'm going to do my best. Case dismissed, you are disbarred. Roll credits.
All right, break this down for us. Is it really that bad, or is this being overblown?
It's pretty bad. I don't know that this particular problem is make or break, except it's kind of convincing the court that the prosecutors are in disarray, which is never good for your case. But I still think the bottom line problem with the case is that the charge itself is incoherent. And I think they may lose on the face of the indictment. Like, did it adequately put Comey on notice of what he was being accused of? And I think there's a lot of public misunderstanding about this because there are a number of things to be upset about the way that Comey ran the FBI. But those things are not really, you know, they don't really interact with this particular indictment, which is kind of a mess.
And then if it doesn't go the way that the administration of the DOJ wants, the statute of limitations would have run out. At least that's what Comey's lawyers are arguing. Is that right?
Yeah, well, it depends on why it gets thrown out. There's a statute that basically says if you indict in time, and they did barely, that if the case gets thrown out, the government gets 6 more months to re-indict. But if the nature of the way that the case is thrown out is that the court finds that there was no indictment in the first place because they didn't dot their I's and cross their T's, then the statute of limitations may be blown. So it's going to really depend on why it gets thrown out.
Okay.
So, not good, right? It's a clown show. It's just one screw up after another. The Wall Street Journal, which is a sister publication of Fox News, a conservative outlet, one of the most reputable, legendary in the industry. The way they described it is Comey prosecution is on the ropes after a series of missteps. Rush process and departure from protocol have hurt the case, former prosecutors say. The federal prosecution of former FBI Director James Comey is teetering after a series of missteps, a sign of a broader challenge ahead for the Justice Department in its pursuit of cases favored by Donald Trump. After a rough stretch in court, there are at least 3 different ways the department's case against Comey could be upended, if not dismissed outright, in the coming weeks. Prosecutors allege the former director lied to Congress in 2020. Comey has pled not guilty. One judge has pledged to rule by Thanksgiving on whether Lindsay Halligan, Trump's hand-picked prosecutor who almost single-handedly brought the case against Comey, was unlawfully appointed to her role after a previous official who opposed the prosecution was pushed out. During a hearing last week, that judge raised concerns that Halligan wasn't properly installed. This week, 2 other judges pointed to potential errors in how Halligan secured the September indictment. Prosecutors acknowledged during a Wednesday hearing that the full grand jury never reviewed the final charging document. They're also trying to fend off arguments by Comey's legal team that the prosecution amounts to an improper political retaliation by Trump and must be dismissed. Halligan's status and motivations are also central issues in another case with political overtones. The Justice Department's prosecution of New York Attorney General Letitia James on allegations of mortgage fraud. Lawyers for James and Comey participated in a joint court hearing on the issue of Halligan's status, and James, a Democrat, gets her own solo hearing on December 5th to air other pretrial arguments for seeking the dismissal of the case. The pair of cases, filed in Virginia, came after Trump directed Attorney General Pam Bondi to bring them, and quickly. The rush process and departure from standard Justice Department protocol has made the cases more susceptible to errors, former prosecutors said. Quote, the administration has made no secret that they're circumventing the usual chain of command and process for things that are important to them. These cases are showing that there are costs to that, said Jonathan Kravis, a former federal prosecutor who specialized in public corruption cases. Let's see. On Wednesday, prosecutor Tyler Lemon struggled under questioning by Judge Nachmanoff, prompting the judge to summon Halligan to the podium. In a testy exchange, Halligan said the full grand jury hadn't seen the substitute indictment of Comey that was prepared after the group declined one of the false statement charges she presented. Comey's defense team seized on the revelation, and on Friday made a new motion to dismiss the case, saying the errors violated basic grand jury rules and, quote, reflect the reckless and ill-conceived nature of the prosecution. The Justice Department said the second indictment remained a legitimate charging document that had been endorsed by the grand jury foreperson as accurately reflecting the group's vote on charges for Comey. So that's what's going on there. Because Comey, I'll add this, and this kind of touches on what McCarthy was saying, because Comey was charged so close to the expiration of the 5-year statute of limitations in this case, any decision invalidating Halligan's appointment could prompt the dismissal charges, though it is possible a judge could give the Justice Department a short window to refile them with another prosecutor in charge. The ripple effect of such a decision is less clear for James. So there is that. I want to go back to actually to Andy McCarthy at the end of his article, his conclusion, where he's describing what he was talking about on Fox News. Actually, we're going to start up a bit up here. Let's see here. So he says, there is no chance a jury trial would convict Comey on such a charge, hence it's not at all surprising that the grand jury rejected the charge. And here's the complication. At Trump's insistence, the Trump Justice Department has been hell-bent on portraying a massive conspiracy implicating Clinton, the FBI, and top Obama officials in a plot to rig the 2016 election and destroy Trump's presidency. Having written a 2019 book on the subject, The Ball of Collusion, with the subtitle The Plot to Rig the Election and Destroy Presidency, I understand Trump's anger because, again, you have to remember, McCarthy is a conservative lawyer. He's a contributor to the National Review. He's one of Fox News' top lawyers. This is not a liberal or progressive lawyer. He has his criticisms of Trump, but he obviously prefers Trump to President Biden or President Obama or any Democrat, okay, which makes this all the more stinging. He says, still, as I contended in the book, the stubborn fact remains. What was perpetrated against Trump circa 2016-2017 was a political dirty trick, not a prosecutable crime. It's also ancient history at this point, legally speaking. It's been nearly a decade since Russiagate, and the federal statute of limitations is 5 years. Trump has gotten his vengeance against Comey, Clinton, Obama, Brennan, and Al by winning back the presidency. He should let it go. Conclusion. Alas, Trump's makeup is such that he can't let it go. Consequently, it was a big problem for Halligan that the grand jury voted against a count meant to be the foundation of a Trump DOJ claim that Comey had lied to conceal his participation in the Clinton campaign Obama administration conspiracy. With the rejection of that charge, the media Democratic complex could gleefully report that a federal grand jury, hearing only the Trump DOJ's evidence, had nonetheless rejected Trump's Russia hoax allegations. Indeed, because it wasn't a hoax. And again, this is where I 100% disagree with McCarthy. McCarthy believes it was a hoax. It was not a hoax. The fact of the matter is that there were many unethical and illegal points of contact between the Trump campaign and Russia, and Robert Mueller secured multiple convictions as a consequence of his, special counsel probe. But the only reason that Donald Trump himself wasn't charged with obstruction of justice is because he was the sitting president. And there's been, a 50-year tradition that you don't prosecute, like an actual rule from the Justice Department that you can't prosecute a sitting president. I digress. Let's continue. Halligan and perhaps other Trump DOJ officials had to know that Trump would be furious over the rejection of the Clinton plan charge. So even though, constitutionally speaking, it should have been perfectly fine to go with the original indictment that showed 2 counts approved and 1 voted down, the Trump DOJ decided to craft a second indictment document that omitted the failed Clinton plan count to try to save Trump's feelings. So perhaps the inexperienced Halligan did not grasp that. No matter what she did, the original indictment, with the no true bill on the Clinton plan charge, would become part of the public record. As we've discussed before, at the indictment return proceeding, Halligan initially told Magistrate Judge Valla that she had signed just one indictment, only to be shown that there were 2 indictment documents and her signature was on both. Whatever the calculus was, by needlessly drafting a second indictment when 2 counts had already been approved in the first one, and by purporting to correct the record when any incorrectness owed to the government's own contradictory representations, Halligan has raised more questions about the grand jury proceedings than she's put to rest. In other words, she has made the situation worse. So the consensus on this is that it's not going well. It's entirely possible the case is going to be dismissed before trial. And I suppose it's also even possible that it could be dismissed in such a way that they will not get a chance to refile these charges against Comey because they barely squeaked the end of the statute of limitations. And as Andy McCarthy says, depending on how the judge rules, this could be it. Either way, Trump is at a huge disadvantage now. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.